These long dog days of summer, I mean, we just made it through a heat wave. Mama was parched through this heat wave. I was hitting up Dunkin' every single day, and I will continue to probably for the rest of my days, but especially this summer. Dunkin' is helping everyone stay cool this summer with its lineup of refreshers. These drinks are packed with bold, fruity flavors and served ice cold. It's amazing. Dunkin' refreshers are the perfect afternoon pick-me-up. I like to start my morning with them personally, and then sometimes I go back for a second one because I'm just feeling crazy. They come in a variety of delicious flavors, including fan favorites mango pineapple and strawberry dragon fruit. And then for a limited time, there's black cherry and there's pink pineapple. I'm going to tell you something right now, and it's a bold claim, let me tell you, but I stand behind it. Pink pineapple will change your life. It is so good. It has me feeling like I'm sitting in a pool, resort side, just living, honey. It's so yummy. Try your favorite flavor with green tea, sparkling water, lemonade, or Dunkin's all-new limeade. I haven't tried the limeade yet, but I'm going to. Usually I get my drinks made with green tea and occasionally lemonade, but I do really like the green tea. Or if you don't want to build your own, try one of Dunkin's curated refreshers like the Cherry Lime Ricky or the Ultimate Pink Daydream. The Cherry Lime Ricky, scrumptious. I could drink like 3 of these a day. They're so freaking yummy. Head to Dunkin' today and find your favorite refresher. Dunkin' refreshers contain less than 1% fruit juice. Limited time offer. When it comes to online college, Southern New Hampshire University is so good, it's scary. Listen, the facts don't lie. SNHU has degree programs that fit your goals, online classes that fit your life, and real support at every step. And if that wasn't enough, they've got some of the lowest online tuition rates in the U.S. This is an airtight case, you guys. Visit snhu.edu/morbid to get started. That's snhu.edu/morbid. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hey, weirdos, I'm Ash.
And I'm Elena.
And this, right here, what you're listening to in your fucking ear meat is Morbid.
It is morbid.
I'm unhinged today.
Ash is on a space
level. But
right
like,
now.
I'm not fizzity fucked up. I'm just fizzity fucked up on life.
On life, on happiness.
On vibes.
On vibes.
Honestly, on hydration.
Yeah.
Me and Elena and I are drinking a lot of water.
Yeah, we're trying to hydrate more.
We're manifesting our health and wellness.
Yeah, we drink a lot of coffee, so we gotta balance it out.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even fucking finish my coffee today.
Whoa, I didn't either.
And I ate a salad.
That was scary.
I know.
I don't know what to say about that.
It was good.
Health,
I put a
wellness.
lot of dressing on it, so it really wasn't even a salad anymore, but
But you know what?
Wellness.
Still got the nutrients in there,
ate the greens.
whether they were soaked in Parmesan peppercorn or not.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you want to eat a salad,
Eat a
but you
fucking
want a
salad
lot of
with-
dressing, I
yeah.
see a lot of girlies on TikTok being like, no, don't put the dressing on it because that will ruin the purpose of eating salad. No.
It doesn't ruin the purpose. Still get it in there.
Greens in your belly. The
Yeah,
end.
exactly. And no, we're not nutritionists, and no, we're not any of those things. And I realize that some of you are. Woo! I don't think it's fine. Eat whatever you want. Everybody eat what you want. You'll be fine.
That's
we're
the
not
thing.
giving health advice. Don't worry.
Oh,
We're
no,
not
that's
giving
not health
medical
advice.
I'm
No,
not
no,
giving
no.
nutritional
No,
advice.
no.
I just like my salads with a shit ton of dressing on them, and I think if that makes you happy, you should do it too, my people.
I am a life coach. So
I
I'm
am
just
that.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
I am that. I just wanted to make sure, like, we are not. I'm not giving.
That's not
actual
medical advice. That's
Yeah.
just like happiness advice. Put
Nutritional
dressing
advice.
on your salad. It's great.
But do it. You have to do it if you want to live long.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's not when you're listening to this. I think it's probably fucking Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
You could.
It'll be like
me
4 or 5 weeks in the future.
If you told me I'm going to push you off a cliff if you don't answer that correctly when this is coming out, I could not answer you.
Can I tell you? Whoa. Can I tell you why I thought of you the other day?
Why?
I saw. Do you ever see those things on Instagram and it's like if you invite this person to a party and they're late, you win like several $1 million. Who do you invite? Every single time it's like gun to your head and like you have to call this person and they can't answer.
Yeah.
Or like anything like that. I'm like, oh, Elena.
Yeah, me. Absolutely. You're like, yeah.
Yes. But honestly, I am the answer to that question too. Both of those. Like
you're the answer to the first question.
And the second.
I feel like you're way better at answering. I don't think I would feel comfortable calling you if it was they can't answer. I'd be like, I don't know, she might answer.
That's
like,
true.
This might
I'm like a toss-up.
You'd be like, she will absolutely not answer.
No way.
She screens her motherfucking calls.
When you do answer my phone call, it's jarring.
Yeah, I think it's jarring for everybody involved.
But I don't like phone calls, so...
Yeah.
But you're reliable in a weird way.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Try.
I didn't want anyone to think that I was like full-blown insulting you.
No, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's what we do here.
That's what we do. We just insult
Fuck
each
you.
other. Fuck you,
You're the
bitch.
worst.
I hate you. Everybody's like, what the fuck is going on this
like,
episode?
Are you guys all right?
Leave it all in.
Yeah,
leave it in. This is the truth. Mention it all.
What an intro.
I know.
What an intro.
What are you bringing to the table
You
today?
know what it is? Sometimes I haven't even gotten to it yet.
We're getting there,
though.
Don't even get there yet. I don't care.
We're going to get there.
I care, but...
You know what it is? We are, we're ahead of ourselves here, so we're recording.
And we're claiming our power back.
And we're feeling all like, woo, right now.
I have a unicorn ponytail.
She does. So
don't know.
That's where we are.
The scariest thing about this is I'm not kidding. We are full blown sober as a
as a
shoe.
judge. As a shoe.
Sober as a shoe.
You know?
I like alliteration.
Actually, that's honestly...
Shoes are always sober.
I was going to say there's never a time where I can say I've seen or heard of a drunk shoe. You have, Mikey?
Have you heard of a drunk shoe?
Your shoe when you went to that event.
Oh my God, that's
She
true.
wasn't drunk. She was just a bitch.
Yeah, my shoe
was
just
broke.
She was a
broke bitch.
That's what my shoe was.
You gotta send that shoe out, by the way.
Yeah, I do have to send that
Make an
out.
appointment.
I gotta get a cobbler to fix that shoe.
Are there still cobblers?
Hell yeah, there are cobbling.
Every day I'm cobbling. Cobble.
I can't fix my shoe. I need a cobbler for that.
No, honestly, I was gonna say you could fix that shoe, but no one could fix that shoe.
No one could. We tried all over the place.
It was like
entire event did.
I was gonna say it was like at an event where we had to like walk out on stage.
Yeah.
But Elena had long pants on, and I was like, just walk out barefoot, and then just don't cross your legs when we get out there.
And if I do, I just be like, this is who I am. I don't wear shoes.
But no, she walked out there with a broken heel.
It's true. But going back to the point.
Yeah, well, what was the point?
I've never seen a drunk shoe. Shoes are always pretty sober.
Yeah.
But judges,
I don't know their
you'd
life.
like them to be.
Yeah,
and they should be.
Of course.
To, lay down the law. But
even when they go home
human,
at night,
they're fallible.
Yeah, and even when they go out to dinner or like to a birthday party, they're a judge, but like still they're not on the
like,
clock.
they're getting crazy at birthday parties.
Listen, no one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
You ever been to a birthday party with a judge? It's crazy.
Can't say I have. Where are we?
I don't know, but we're going to find our way back.
Where do we go from here?
Where we go from here is a pretty wild tale. It's a sad tale because it involves like a really, really cool lady who lost her life in a terrible way, but then she ends up solving her own murder.
Oh, shit.
From beyond.
Beyond?
Beyond.
This is beyond.
So...
Oh, okay. All right. Let me get a little more
So now we're going to
serious,
settle in to this tale because this is a wild one. And I think this is one Dave loved this one too. This is just such a good, in the end, when it all comes together, you're like, hell yeah. Cause she solved her own shit.
You know that song that's on TikTok right now where it's like,
Yes, exactly.
It's going to be like that
That's
at the
what
end.
it is. It's happy in the end.
Okay. I like
Now-
that. Thank you for setting us up to know that.
No problem. Just so you can like roll with me here because there's some really sad parts.
I'll roll with you, homie.
But this is the case of Teresita Basa, the voice from beyond the grave.
Ooh.
And again, like I said, this is a case where a ghost possibly pointed to her own murderer.
Shit.
Now, let's talk about Teresita, because Teresita lived a pretty cool life. She seemed like a really cool lady, very kind, like just somebody who you wanted to be around.
Oh.
Teresita Basa was born on March 13th, 1929 in Dumaguete City, Philippines, and she was the only child of Pedro and Socorro Basa. So Teresita, right off the bat, was a very passionate child. When she liked something, she dove headfirst into it. And she took a lot of different interests, a lot of different likings to different things. Like, she was really well-rounded. But she really loved music, and she loved gardening, especially.
Oh.
And her mother had this beautiful and lush garden in the back of their home, and she showed her everything she knew about taking care of it. And Teresita's family was actually one of the wealthier on the island at the time.
Swanky.
And this afforded her the tools at her disposal to learn the skills that she was interested in. She was able to dive into music. She was able to take time to learn gardening. And she wanted to learn piano at one
Ooh,
point.
I really want to learn how to play
I
piano.
love the piano.
Yeah.
I want to dive back into the piano really bad. So her family, of course, wanting to like nourish whatever it is she was interested in, they had imported a Steinway grand piano from Manila.
Damn.
And she would sit around this piano and just play for hours. And she would learn all the classical music. Like, she was amazing at it. And when she wasn't learning to play classical music on the piano, she would be sitting in front of their Victrola with a pile of 78 records, absorbing all the latest songs that had made their way to the Philippines.
I love picturing this right now.
Right?
Yes.
Like, it's just, she sounds like a cool chick.
She does.
She really does. And right from the get-go, too. She was just like music. She was into shit.
Yeah, she sounds just like a fun time.
Yeah, just sitting there listening to records. And I'm sure it took a little while for certain songs to get to the Philippines. So, like, she was discovering them on a whole different wavelength. Like,
I
it's
didn't even
cool.
think of that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That is cool.
Now, when the Japanese army invaded the Philippines in 1941, Dumaguete was used as a critical strategic point. And at this time, her parents were kind of agonizing over whether they should leave altogether and flee into the mountain regions to just avoid everything, because many other people had done so. And ultimately, Pedro, her father, was persuaded by those in authority to stay. Because the local government was like kind of on the verge of collapse, and, quote, his counsel would be needed more than ever. So he was a very influential guy in the government.
Okay, wow.
And the invasion was a profound influence on Teresita, who was a teenager at the time. She had grown up she was very used to learning English in the classroom, but was now, against her decision, being forced to learn Japanese in its place.
Oh, wow.
And she was comfortable learning English. She was now like thrown over to this other thing that she didn't choose.
Right.
And at the same time, this island paradise that she had enjoyed as a child, where, you know, she knew everybody. It was like they were in this nice little routine, and, you know, like it was just easy living kind
Yeah.
of thing. It was now dramatically transformed. And a lot of Filipinos were forced into service work for the soldiers.
Oh, man.
It was really bad. There was like a lot of bad stuff happening. So very drastically different from when she had grown up.
Right.
And she's a teenager. That's
yeah,
so
that's like
hard.
That's such an important time in your life.
Yeah, and for like your home to be changed so dramatically like that.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, like everything is changing.
Everything.
in you, like as a
Yeah,
human.
every
and
part of
then
it.
Now everything around you is changing. I can't imagine having to
Yeah.
adapt to that.
So by 1947, the island had more or less kind of returned to normal, luckily. But for Teresita, it was a lot of like trauma and a
Yeah.
lot of memories. There was a lot of violence there that had happened, a lot of oppression that had happened. And
Some
so
PTSD going on.
yeah, so she was like, it just wasn't the same. So she made the decision to move to Manila. And once there, she studied music at St. Scholastica's. I'm going to try to say this. I'm sorry. At St. Scholastica's College.
Well, I
There
feel
you
like you
go.
did that right.
And eventually she became a very accomplished pianist. And after her graduation, she ended up moving to London
Ooh, bitch.
and continued her studies in music at the time at the Royal College of Music in London.
Nice.
Now, London was very different than where she had grown up. She had grown up in a tropical climate, a very tight-knit community.
Sunlight.
Like that, she was very used to all that, and it was like a whole new world for Teresita, London. But she
Culture shock.
loved it. She loved it. And whenever she could get away from schoolwork, she would love just exploring the city, and she loved all the outdoor concerts that would happen and all the different things that she could go to, the museums, all that fun stuff.
That is fun.
So after 2 years at the Royal College of Music, Teresita graduated with a certificate in pianoforte.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she loved being in London. She loved her time away. She had a good time. She met some people. She did some things. But she was missing her friends and family in her home,
Okay.
as we all do. So she had hoped to return back home just for a visit, but instead she actually was convinced by her friends to go on a tour of Europe with them.
Oh, shit.
And she did.
They're
She ended up,
backpacking?
she ended up visiting Vienna, Salzburg, Paris, other places, like all kinds of cool places.
That's a dream of mine.
And it was in Paris that Teresita met a Russian composer by the name of Alexander Cherepnin.
Ooh.
I
he
looked
sounds
up how
hot.
to say that. He definitely took a liking to Teresita, but a liking in like a mentor way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, am I going to regret my past statement?
And he was very impressed by how dedicated she was to music, her skills, like just how varied she was in her musical talents. And he really believed that she could become a great composer if she continued her studies.
Wow, what a fucking compliment.
I know, right? So Cherepnin and his wife actually both taught at DePaul University in Chicago.
Oh,
Funny that they met them in Paris.
I know.
And invited Teresita to visit them anytime she was in Chicago.
So it sounds like this was
They
like
really
meant
liked
to
her.
be.
Yeah. So in the summer of 1957, she was 28 years old, and she ended up flying from the Philippines to Honolulu, Hawaii. And from there, she traveled a pretty short distance, relatively, I suppose, to Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah, it's only like a 6-hour flight.
Yeah, there you go.
Insider.
Insider. And there is where she enrolled in the Foreign Exchange Visitors Program at an Indiana university. During her time there, she made a lot of friends. She really did well academically. She had a good time, but she didn't end up finishing her credits completely. She was actually just a handful of credits shy of completing her graduate studies, and she ended up relocating to Washington, D.C., like out of nowhere.
All right.
And I think she was just like bebopping, like she was just hitting everything.
Bebop-a-loopa, baby.
So she relocated to Washington, D.C., and that's where she took a job as a typist with a family friend. This family friend was working in the government. Because remember, her parents are very influential. Like they are doing stuff in the Philippines. And so this was like a connection.
Right.
And so she could do this typing job while also continuing to study music at the Library of Congress.
Oh,
Yeah.
she is doing everything.
Teresita.
Teresita.
So while she's working and studying in Washington, D.C., she attended a diplomatic reception, like fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And there is where she met Edward O'Meara, who was a Chicago lobbyist, and he took an immediate liking to Teresita, but in the romantic sense.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, she's like a grown adult at this point.
Yeah, she's like 28, right?
And soon after this first meeting, they started dating, and they started spending a ton of time together. And then unfortunately, just as the relationship was kind of like taking off, her visa was set to expire.
No.
And she was required to return to the Philippines before she could apply for U.S. citizenship.
Oh, god damn.
So in 1965, she was 36 at this point, and she returned home to her parents. And Edward actually came to visit a ton. Like came to the Philippines to visit.
Romance.
But during his final trip to Dumaguete, Pedro Basa, her father, found something out about Edward O'Meara.
Of course he did. He works in the government.
Of course he did.
Cannot get anything past Pedro.
Pedro found out that Edward had been frequenting one of the city's brothels.
Bitch.
And that ended Teresita and Edward's relationship mighty fast.
Good.
And Pedro was essentially like, I think it's time for you to leave
Bye.
and go home to
Don't
the
let
USA.
the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe you should.
Yeah, so Teresita was devastated by this.
Because one, it's like
Yeah.
she's been duped, and then now she can also never see him again.
Yeah, it's like not only has her relationship ended in this awful way, but now her dreams of returning to the US are kind of put on hold.
Yeah.
And instead, now she decided she was just going to continue pursuing her passion for music. She started teaching piano at Silliman University, and she was trying to find happiness where she was in the Philippines. But no matter how hard she tried, she really couldn't feel comfortable there. I think she had dealt with a lot of the trauma that was still kind of like soaking into the ground there with growing up and being a teenager through all that.
Getting paid twice a month doesn't mean money is scarce. It just feels that way. That feeling makes you do weird stuff, like putting things on a card you didn't need to. Earnin removes that feeling. With Earnin, you can access up to $150 per day of money you've already earned, plus up to $1,000 between paychecks. Standard transfers take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees, and expedited transfers start at $3.99 and cap at $5.99. 5 million people are already on it, and honestly, it's wild it didn't exist sooner. Download Earnin on the App Store or Google Play, spelled like earning money without the G. Type in Morbid under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Access limits are based on your earnings and risk factors. Standard cash outs take 1 to 2 business days with no mandatory fees. Expedited transfers available for a fee. Tips are voluntary and don't affect the service. Available in select states. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit earnin.com for full details. Every good detective needs a partner to support them on important cases. Think of a State Farm agent like your sidekick, there to help you along the way in your search for coverage. State Farm can help you choose the coverage you need, whether it's for your home, car, boat, or even RV. With so many options, it's nice knowing you have help finding what fits for you so you can get back to solving all of life's bigger cases. Go to statefarm.com or use the award-winning app to connect with a local agent and get a quote. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
On top of that uncomfortability that she was feeling a little bit, she just could never feel at home again.
It makes sense.
She was also feeling humiliated because she had been basically duped by this slick American guy. And like that was the talk around town. She had been duped by this stupid American. And even so, she was excited because her visa ended up being approved. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to shake this up.
Yeah.
I don't need him.
No.
I don't need him to go to the United States. So she was able to return to the United States without that asshole.
I was going to say, because there's plenty more for her in the United States than just that loser.
So on December 7th, 1971, 42-year-old Teresita Basa returned to the United States.
Okay.
And she had less than $400 in her pocket and a small amount of luggage. And that's all she had to start a new life.
Damn.
So with help from the Philippines consulate in Chicago, she was able to find an apartment on Mozart Street in the city's northwest side.
How fitting.
Yeah, right? Mozart Street.
Yeah.
And she decided she was going to complete her graduate studies at Indiana University. And in the meantime, she would find more work as a typist during this time. So she just went back to what she knew. Now, Edward O'Meara had really traumatized Teresita, and she was reluctant to even make new friends.
Yeah, because
She didn't trust anyone.
Exactly.
And she spent a lot of her time just reading, kind of exploring the city alone. And she decided she loved the city of Chicago, and this is where she wanted to make her home. Now, although she had hoped she'd be able to continue her studies and find work as a piano teacher, it didn't take long for her to figure out that the job market for musicians was kind of small, a little tough at the time. The competition was fierce, and the schedule really wasn't great for her, and she wasn't going to be able to make enough money to support herself in the meantime. So she enrolled as a student in the respiratory therapy program at the Central YMCA Community College in September of 1972. And in the late spring of 1974, she graduated from that program. And she quickly found work as a therapist at Edgewater Hospital in Chicago.
Good for her.
So she's working as like a respiratory therapist.
She's just like rolling with the punches.
She's a badass. Like, she's like, oh, this won't work. I can just excel at this other thing and I'll just get a job here. Like, she's just killing it.
Yeah, like nothing can deter her.
Yeah, she's just like an independent lady. She doesn't need anybody, and she's going to figure out how to make it work.
Love it.
So she, working at Edgewater, kind of opened up a whole new world of experiences for Teresita. Her new salary meant that she could find a new apartment, a little larger, and this one could accommodate a piano.
Ooh.
So in September of 1974, she moved into a big apartment, and this was in the Pine Grove Apartments, which was a new apartment building across from Lincoln Park. And she immediately began looking for a small piano. And now, with her success in, school and the new job and moving into this bigger place, she had some new confidence and she started kind of opening up to new friends.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know what? I'm working with some cool people. I can hang out with these people.
Not everybody sucks like Edward.
Yeah, it started making her see that, like, I can live my normal life. So she became very close with Ruth Loeb, who was one of the hospital administrators. She became one of her best friends. And not long after moving into the apartment, she found a small but like very reasonably priced electric organ at a music shop nearby.
Oh, that's cool.
And she had it put in her apartment. Now, she would play all the time, and then she ended up forming a small music group with her cousin and a few coworkers.
Oh, that must have been so much fun.
Yeah, like, it's so cute. And they called themselves the Mahogany 5+1. And they had 5 Filipino members. It was her cousin and a few coworkers. And then a drummer who was like the only white guy.
Oh my God,
That's why
I
they
love
called
it.
themselves the Mahogany 5+1.
That's incredible. That is
So-
Mahogany 5
Plus
plus
one.
1.
So the name was like a funny play on that.
Yeah.
And the band played like parties and events. Like, basically whenever they had time outside of work, they would play at different things.
Hell yeah, Teresita.
Yeah, and with the new job and apartment and a really cool small group of friends, the band happening, she finally felt like her new life was like coming together. She was feeling comfortable. But she still had a lot of feelings from that heartbreak.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course.
Yeah, she was still not ready to totally like give in to anybody romantically. She was not feeling dating.
Yeah, didn't want to get out there romantically.
Yeah. And in the fall of 1975, she got a letter from a former pen pal of hers, Robert, who was saying that he would be in Chicago for a convention and would like to take her to dinner.
Okay.
His name was Robert Krauth, I believe. Krauth had intended to take her on a date. That was his intention with this. It wasn't like, I want to take you to dinner as friends. He was like, I like you,
Yeah.
and I want to take you to dinner.
I kind of got that vibe.
So he showed up at her apartment to pick her up, and she had invited 2 of her coworkers with her.
Uh-huh.
And the 2 coworkers said, we kind of look out for her. Like, they were just like, we're coming.
That
So he was
moment.
like, all right.
He's like, okie dokie.
So unfortunately, the fear of getting romantically or emotionally involved with men especially would be something that she would kind of have to deal with her whole life. She wasn't ready to move on from that.
Yeah.
But fortunately, Teresita never let it get to her and never let it take away anything from her life.
Good.
She was happy and she was fulfilled regardless. So truly, with the exception of like the small amount of like introvert kind of like hiding awayness that she had when she first arrived in Chicago, she ended up loving spending time with friends. She like loved any opportunity to throw a party. She was like a social gal.
My kind of girly.
So she really got over it.
I also love that she was like, if you want to be my lover.
You got to get with my coworkers, So you got to get with my band. So after what would be her eventual death, because obviously we know how this ends.
I know.
Many people would say that although she was what they referred to as a straight person, meaning she didn't drink or use drugs.
Yeah, straight edge.
She always kept beer and good Scotch whiskey on hand for whenever she was entertaining for everyone else.
What a fucking dude.
She's so cool.
Like, what a
Yeah, like
girl's
my girl. Now, one of the biggest and most memorable parties that Teresita ever threw was in the summer of 1976. Her mother had come to Chicago for a visit, and Teresita was so excited to take her mom around the city, show her all the things that had caused her to just fall in love with that city. And she also wanted her mom to meet all of her friends that
Yeah.
she'd made, and especially her coworkers like Ruth Loeb and another new friend who she had been spending time with at work named Alan Showery. So it was like a great time. And I love how close she was to her mom.
Yeah.
Like that her mom like taught her how to garden.
Right.
They had that bond. And then it's like she just couldn't wait to show her mom like the new city that she loved.
That's really special.
Now, at about 3 p.m. the afternoon of February 21st, 1977, Teresita was preparing to leave the hospital after a long day of work. And she was putting on her coat, getting ready to leave, when her friend Alan, who I just mentioned, Alan Showery.
I didn't like your face when you said Alan.
Yeah, he came into the room and they just kind of chatted and they left together. They were going to catch the bus together. They would do that often because the bus went by both their apartments. So they would just get on the bus together.
Right.
Now, on the ride home, Teresita had mentioned to Alan that her television was all fucked up. And he was like, oh, I can come by tonight and take a look at it and see if I can try to fix it. I'm kind of handy. And she was like, oh, that's great. And then they kind of discussed the Mahogany 5+1's upcoming show that they had. And Teresita said that they might be losing their drummer soon. And so Alan was like, I can play the drums. Like, if you need someone to sit in, like, I
Sweet.
can do that for you.
-1+1.
Exactly. So Teresita was like, oh, you know what? You can buy a ticket to see us at the show, and then you can decide if you really want to, like, be a part of it.
Yeah.
And at the time, Alan was like, I can't really, like, I don't have a lot of extra money, so I can't really do it. And before getting off at her stop, she was like, listen, I'm going to set a ticket aside for you, and you can come pick it up later.
What a sweetheart.
Yeah. So once she'd settled in at home that evening, she called her friend, who was also her bandmate, Dr. John Abella. And a little after 7 p.m., they were just chatting on the phone. They discussed the upcoming show. You know, they talked about ticket sales and how they were going to market it. And Teresita had also said that her friend Alan, who he also knew, could take over the drumming seat. And he was like, and she was like, oh, it might be, you know, a good opportunity for you to hear him play if we can get you guys all together. Mm-hmm. They talked for about 10 minutes, and then Teresita apparently excused herself and said someone's knocking at the door. And she did tell him she was expecting company, and she said someone who might buy a ticket to the concert.
Okay.
So at about 7:30 p.m., Teresita got another call, and she answered.
Okay.
And it was her friend and coworker, Ruth Loeb. And they just kind of chatted for about 20 minutes. Very casual chat, just best friends, you know, besties.
Besties being besties.
Yeah, and Teresita mentioned that she, quote, had a male visitor. And Ruth did hear a male in the background just kind of chatting, like nothing crazy. But she didn't give Loeb a name before ending the call.
Okay.
That was the last time that Loeb or anyone else would speak to Teresita Basa.
Oh.
So a little after 8:30 p.m., Catherine and Mario Nazi, I believe it's how you say it, they were cleaning up after dinner. They lived on the 15th floor in the Pine Grove apartments where Teresita lived. I know that's high up.
That is.
They were just cleaning up, and they, you know, not long after turning off the television, they just kind of like settled in for the evening. And Mario was like, what is that smell? And he suddenly smelled burning.
Oh, no.
So they were like, what the fuck? So they ran around their apartment being like, did anything burn or something left on?
Right.
They couldn't find anything. And Mario opened the door in the hallway and was immediately overwhelmed with smoke that was like filling up the floor. So he screamed for his wife to run out with him, and they started running down the hallway, yelling fire and banging on their neighbors' doors to try to get everybody out.
Right.
And as they made their way to the elevator, Mario got out of the elevator on the 7th floor to let the building's janitor know. His name was Petro Lulusa.
Okay.
He was like, I'm sending my wife to the lobby, but like there's a fire. We got to get everyone out.
Yeah. Also,
which like badass.
You also shouldn't use the elevator in a fire, right?
Probably not, no. Yeah. But Chicago firefighters had actually made their way into the hallway at this point because the fire alarm started going off. And they told the men, please leave immediately.
Yeah.
And they had to crawl on their hands and knees, like under the smoke. It was really thick at this point. And they were going through trying to make sure everybody was out of all the different rooms. And they entered Teresita Basa's apartment and noticed that whatever the smoke was coming from, it was coming from inside this apartment.
Her apartment was the source.
And not only that, but it was coming from the middle of her bedroom floor, like right next to the bed. That's where it seems to be originating.
That's weird.
And it was still burning. So they used axes and they smashed all the windows, the balcony door in her bedroom, and they just were trying to vent out all the smoke. And they were able to put the fire out. And I think they had to use like the fire hose and 2 handheld extinguishers. So it was pretty big. And once they had cleared it all, the fire lieutenant, Warren Wellen, began investigating, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on here. And he said it looked like somebody had attempted to burn the mattress in that bedroom. And there was a pile of clothes on the floor, and it looked like the mattress had been put on the pile of clothes and then lit on fire.
Weird.
But so he like kicked the smoldering pile and was like, what the fuck is under here? Like, what's going on? And that's when he discovered the nude body of Teresita Basa. And he found a butcher knife embedded to the wooden handle in the exact center of her chest.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was mayhem. Teresita's apartment appeared to have been completely ransacked. They immediately thought that this was a rape murder or perhaps a robbery gone wrong. And they thought it was a rape because she was found nude.
Right, of course.
And with the clothing and mattresses piled on the body, they thought it was basically set ablaze to get rid of any evidence. The fire caused a ton of damage to Teresita's body. She had burns on both sides of her body and head, and little left of her jet black hair was found. Now, fortunately, though, the fire hadn't made its way through the heaviest part of the clothing pile, so a lot of her face, torso, and upper legs were spared from being burned.
That's good.
Now, Fire Lieutenant Whalen radioed the police because now they had found a body, and it was clearly a murdered body.
Right.
And so they called in the body, and detectives arrived at the scene pretty quickly. Now, to the more seasoned detectives, the crime scene, particularly, especially the pile of clothes in the center of the floor, it made them think of William Hirons, who is the lipstick killer. We haven't covered him yet. That's actually on my list to cover. He murdered several women in the mid-1940s, and he would leave piles of items at the crime scene as like his signature.
Oh, weird.
So immediately they were like, whoa, this is wild. But Hirons had been in prison for decades.
I was just going to say it was no longer the 40s.
So they were like, is this a copycat?
Right.
Like, what? This just is a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
So, but they were like, I don't know what this is, but it's not good. So from a quick search of the apartment, detectives were able to identify the victim from photos and, personal papers and stuff. And they noted that there were 3 locks on the door, and not one of them had been damaged or broken at all. Like, whoever the killer was, it was likely that they were let into the apartment by Teresita. There was no struggle in that sense. The bedroom, though, really looked like a robbery had occurred. Jewelry boxes were open and flung on the floor. They were overturned. Drawers were pulled out. The contents of everything was strewn around the room. It was a mess. And the living room was kind of in a similar state of disarray. Like, plants, vases, tables were flipped over. 2 televisions were side by side in front of the sofa. And next to them was her organ.
I'm also like, does she have a downstairs neighbor?
I know. That's what happened.
Did somebody hear anything?
Now, outside the bedroom, they didn't really get a lot of evidence, just aside from the chaos out there.
But the fire.
But they did find a note. It was on a memo pad by the phone, and on it was written in Teresita's handwriting, "Get tickets for AS."
Right.
Alan Showery.
Right.
So officers, and they saw that and they were like, we should collect that. I don't know who that is. So officers started going door to door, interviewing residents on each floor, just trying to learn something about
see
her.
If anybody heard anything.
Yeah, about anyone she knew. And what they found was that she was very private.
Yeah.
She was a private person. She kind of kept to herself when it came to her neighbors.
Right.
But the neighbors said she was very pleasant. I just don't know a lot about her. And the best lead they could find came from the janitor, Petro. And he told detectives that he had seen Teresita arguing with someone in the lobby a few weeks earlier. He said he was a white guy, about 50 years old, and he seemed like he'd been drinking.
That's weird.
And he said, unfortunately, he couldn't really hear what they were arguing about because he's like, I really shouldn't be listening to people's conversations. Like, I wasn't trying to.
We're in the city here.
Yeah,
y'all.
like, I'm going to leave that alone. But he said he hadn't seen the man before this, and he hadn't seen him since. Teresita's neighbor across the hall, Bruce Campbell, which I was like, wow, Bruce Campbell. Evil Dead.
Sorry. I was like, yeah, you're like, not picking up what you're putting down.
So Bruce Campbell, her, neighbor from across the hall.
Yeah.
He said he had seen her with a man as well. And she never told him the man's name and she didn't hear it. She never introduced him or anything. But Campbell was like fairly certain that the man was a sheet metal worker. He remembers her saying something about that.
Okay.
Now, Catherine Nazi, who was the one who had helped alert everybody about the fire, she gave investigators another lead. She said she didn't know too much about Teresita personally, but she did recall hearing from another neighbor a few weeks earlier that Teresita had been attacked or raped or something like that.
What?
According to Catherine, Teresita apparently had been standing at the door trying to get her key into the lock, and a man in a ski mask grabbed her and attacked her.
What?
But she didn't have any more information about that. So they asked the building manager, Joyce Kaltman, and Joyce Kaltman remembered another incident in September of 1974 where they had to have the locks changed after someone broke into Teresita's apartment and stole some things.
What?
Yeah.
What are you telling me right now?
I'm not sure.
What?
That's the thing. Like, no one had any real information, and that was what they told them.
But that's so sinister. So two
Isn't
separate
it?
instances where somebody broke in, and on one
Yeah.
of those instances she was raped?
Well, they said the way she said it was that she had been attacked or raped or something like that. What we learn is she was not raped.
Okay.
She might have been attacked, though.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Now, the case was assigned to 40-year-old homicide detective Joseph Stahula.
Obsessed already.
He was on the force for like a decade or more. Definitely had already made a name for himself as like the guy who gets shit done.
Yeah,
like
Joseph
he's not going to
Stahula.
quit. Stahula, he's not going to go
Never.
anywhere. And so initially, he, like everyone else, believed this was a rape, murder, arson, robbery kind of thing, making it very high profile.
You would think.
So once the scene had been secured, Stahula and his partner, Lee Burley Eplin,
Obsessed.
they headed to the apartments to kind of look over the scene. It was basically how they had been told it would be, like very little leads to go on right off the bat. But in the kitchen, Stahula found a cutting board out on the counter, and there was some lettuce and half a tomato. And next to that was a small piece of meat still wrapped in butcher's paper.
Okay.
And now the only thing that was very absent from this scene in the kitchen was a knife that
Yep.
had been used
Yep.
to cut the vegetables. And he assumed, and was correct, that it was the knife that was found protruding from Teresita's chest.
So she had been cooking with it earlier?
Yeah. Now, other than that, the detectives discovered some, personal papers. They found her address book with a lot of names and $30 in cash. And that address book had the names and numbers for like everyone she knew. So they were like jackpot. Now, as Stahula and Eplin made their way through this address book, they were calling people, trying to get anything they could. They finally came across the numbers of Ray King and Richard Pizzotti.
Okay.
They were two men who had accompanied Teresita out to dinner with Robert Krauss a few years earlier. They were the two coworkers that were like, we kind of look out for her.
Oh, shit.
They were
Okay,
the ones
okay.
that she brought to dinner with the guy who wanted to take her out.
So these are good guys.
Yeah. And these two men confirmed they came like and were there for this. They confirmed that Teresita didn't have a boyfriend, not to their knowledge. But that she like hung out with men. Like I think they said she liked men for their company.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, she wasn't romantically involved with anyone.
Right.
And they did say in the months before her murder, she had like seen off and on this man named Robert Knudsen, who was a construction worker in his early 50s.
Okay.
Who knows if that was the guy that they had seen, that the neighbors had seen her and the janitor had seen her arguing with.
Yep.
It kind of a white guy in his 50s.
Yeah, right.
Now, the detective's next call was to Ruth Loeb. That was Teresita's coworker and closest friend.
Yeah.
Ruth confirmed that she had spoken to Teresita on the night of the murder and that the two had made plans to have lunch the following day.
I can't imagine having that knowledge, like that your friend
You got off the phone.
and then they got murdered.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
And she had told her, like, I have someone, like, someone knocked at the door. She's like,
Right.
I heard that person come in.
Right.
Like, oh. And she told detectives that while she was on the phone with her, she heard a male voice that in the background. And she said she couldn't make out what he was saying, just that it was a male voice. And the best she could tell was that Teresita was, in good spirits, didn't seem to be in this man's company against her will, didn't seem to be like stressed out or anything.
Nervous
Very,
at all.
very normal conversation, very normal attitude. And the information from Ruth confirmed the earlier suspicion that Teresita's killer was likely known to her and was let in voluntarily. Now, going to the autopsy. On the morning of February 22nd at the morgue, pathologist Dr. Ty Ann began his autopsy of Teresita's body. While he was doing the autopsy, Stahula and Eplin, Burley Eplin there, they were waiting in the corner just watching.
Yep.
Which pathologists love that.
I bet.
And among the more significant findings was that beneath the skin of her neck, which was totally charred, the doctor did find bruising on her throat and a fractured larynx, which indicated that at some point before she died and was lit on fire,
Strangled.
she'd been choked.
How do they find out if there's bruising if it's charred skin?
Because they're able to see like where there's some like gathering, like pooled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like underneath the skin?
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Like because in the different layers.
Yep.
Now, they determined that the cause of death was a stab wound lacerating the heart and strangulation.
Wow.
They also noted that Teresita's body showed that she had not been sexually assaulted.
Okay.
So the findings of the autopsy pretty much completely undermined the theory that the detectives had been building since they first got there.
Oh, no.
She hadn't been raped.
Yep.
She'd simply been undressed and made to look like she was raped to
And
throw the investigation off.
Strangled.
Yeah. So while Stahula and Eplin discussed the autopsy results with the pathologist, two other detectives went to the home of Robert Knudsen, the guy that she had been seeing off and on a little bit. And the man, he confirmed that he did know Teresita and that they'd been on a few dates. But he said on the night of the murder, he hadn't left his house except for a short trip to the grocery store.
Yep.
And they scheduled a polygraph test for him that day. But apparently the officers let him take a Valium before the test.
Is that
which would make the
usually allowed?
results inconclusive.
Right.
But still, his prints did not match the second set that was found at the scene that they ended up finding.
I'm just picturing him like, do you guys mind if I take this Valium?
And they're like, yeah, that probably won't mess that up at all.
Like, what?
So for months, the detectives pored over Teresita's life, that address book. They talked to everyone she knew. They chased down every single little pulling thread that they could. Unfortunately, while they initially would have these like promising leads, they would all fall apart. They'd all get ruled out with an interview or a polygraph exam. And by the spring, all the leads had dried up and they were running out of people to interview at this point. And in the summer after Teresita's murder, things at Edgewater Hospital had kind of just returned to normalcy at that point. You know, all the employees just had in the respiratory unit just had to go about their lives.
That's really sad because they all loved her a lot.
And yeah, and a 39-year-old inhalation therapist at Edgewater named Remy Chua, she was working there. She had hardly known Teresita. They had literally, I think, met each other at orientation when Remy was at orientation. They had worked different shifts. Like, they did not hang out. They didn't know each other very well. They knew of each other.
Okay.
I think they called each other a nodding acquaintanceship at best.
Yeah.
And that I say this because it's strange, because Remy's husband and coworkers said that she became kind of preoccupied with Teresita's life overnight, like out of nowhere. One day in July, Remy was sitting alone in the hospital's break room, just all alone, and her coworkers are in the hallway, and they see her almost jump out of her chair and tear out of the room, like something scared the shit out of her. And when they looked to see what she had run from, there was nothing there.
Yeah, there was.
And so whatever it was, it scared the shit out of her so badly that she went home.
This part of the show is brought to you by Anua, the Korean skincare brand known for scientific, gentle, yet effective formulations. The latest from Anua is the Retinol Collagen Gua Sha Cream, a firming cream with a gua sha-shaped tip built right in. Have you guys heard of gua sha? It's that viral massage tool that moves fluid and tension out of your face. Less puffiness, a snatched jawline, honey, more definition in your face. Retinol firms and reduces fine lines, and collagen keeps your skin plump and structured. This cream has both of those things, arguably the most optimal combo for that snatched, lifted look all in one step. I am obsessed with the Gua Sha cream. First of all, it feels so cool to the touch. When you put that on your face, it's just like, this is lovely. It's like a little spa treatment that you can give yourself. I like to do mine at night after I get out of the shower. I rubbed the cream on my face with the little gua sha. I'm sculpting that jawline, honey. I got it on the cheekbones. And actually, I had a facial the other day, and the lady doing my facial, the professional, she said, "Do you use a gua sha at home?" And I said, "I do." And I said, "How did you know that?" And she said, "I didn't have those little like bumps in my chin or like different areas like that." So she could tell that I was using the gua sha. And I said, "Oh my God." I just feel like I wake up less puffy in the morning when I do it the night before. But you can do it whenever you want to. I, 10 out of 10, recommend this product. The Anua Gua Sha Cream Value Set is available at anua.com, already discounted. Use code MORBID for an extra 10% off. That's ANUA.com, code MORBID. The Sherwin-Williams summer sale is here. Get 30% off select paints and stains or 35% off their newest product, Emerald Symmetry, July 17th through the 27th. Whether you're looking to refresh your interior or your exterior, they've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
She wouldn't finish her shift.
Okay.
And so Remy didn't say anything at the time, but later she told her husband, Dr. Jose Chua, that she said she was sitting alone in the break room and she just kind of briefly closed her eyes, like kind of just like resting a little bit. And then she opened them and looked up and saw Teresita Basa standing in front of her, not moving or speaking, just staring at her.
What the fuck?
And she said she jumped up and ran the fuck out of there.
And she had become obsessed with her life before this happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Like she had kind of become like very into what had happened and very into like her and asking people like, you know, like, did you, and it wasn't like she was asking people like, what did she like? What was she into? Kind of thing. She was almost telling people facts about her that people were like, how do you know that?
Oh, that's
like, why do you
really-
know that? Like, you don't know her.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I'm not really sure because I don't know her.
So it sounds like she's an empath.
Now, in the days that followed Teresita's appearance to Remy, coworkers remembered that Remy's personality shifted a lot after this. They started noticing that she was very chatty when she wasn't very chatty before. And she would just, quote, chatter on about the piano, about classical music, playing or partying, like throwing parties, all the things that Teresita was into.
So she was possessed.
And Teresita's coworkers were like, this is disturbing. Like they had all been very close to Teresita.
Probably like pissed them off.
Well, and it seemed like this woman was doing a strange impression of her almost.
Yeah.
So they all actually ended up reporting it to Remy's supervisor, Ted Ellis, and being like, she's being weird. But now Remy was feeling ganged up on and kind of harassed by her coworkers and who were like, what the fuck, dude? Stop pretending to be Teresita. So she ended up reporting to Ellis that she believed that it had become a hostile work environment. What? And Ellis tried to de-escalate this whole situation.
He's probably just like, what is going on?
He's like, what? But it was just making Remy angrier when he was trying to de-escalate it. She was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, I don't understand. She ended up being terminated that day for gross insubordination.
Oh, man.
So it was rough, like obviously getting terminated out of nowhere, but it was kind of a relief for Remy because she said she was very confused and anxious at work. Like something was different and she wasn't feeling comfortable there. And she said, you know, like people making comments about the Teresita thing and like claiming that she was impersonating this woman that she hardly knew. Like it was just getting weird there.
Uh-huh.
So she said like she was kind of relieved that she was like out of there because she felt like some weird energy.
Okay.
And
I
that-
am sitting here like,
Yes.
what the fuck is going on?
That evening, as she and her husband, Dr. Jose Chua, were relaxing in their living room and she's just kind of like, fuck, I got fired. Remy kind of drifted off to sleep in a chair. And then a few minutes later, she stood up very abruptly, didn't say anything to her husband, and just walked into the bedroom. And that wasn't like her.
Yeah.
And when she didn't come back a few minutes later, like just stayed in the bedroom, Jose was like, okay, I'm going to check on her. So he went in there and checked, and she was lying on the bed with her eyes wide open.
What?
And so he was like, hey, what's wrong? You okay? But she wouldn't say anything. So he was like, what the fuck? Like, are you okay? And then she started speaking in Tagalog, I believe is how you say it, which is like their native language. And she was saying, Mama, Mama, are you there, Mama?
What?
And Jose was very confused. And he was like, what the fuck? Because the Chuas also, they came from the Philippines and they spoke Tagalog at home.
When you just said that they also came through the from the Philippines, my whole body did the whom.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, I'm covered in chills.
Because this is the language they spoke at home.
Yeah.
And this is the language that Teresita would also know.
Uh-huh.
And he said the voice coming from his wife was not like her normal speaking voice.
I gotta go.
So he said she was speaking a language I understood that we speak at home.
But not in her
But this
voice.
was not her voice. And then he said to Jose's ear, it sounded like there was a slight Spanish accent here. And then he said Remy had her eyes fixed on the ceiling and she said, I am Teresita Basa.
Holy shit.
And Dr. Chua was like, oh, fuck. And he was like, I was very alarmed. And she kept rambling on in this language about the dead woman, whom she barely knew. And he tried to get her to snap out of it and just explain what the fuck was going on. And then she looked at him and said, Dr. Chua, I would like to ask for your help. And he was like, why are you calling me Dr. Chua?
Like,
I'm your husband. And he said, so he was like, what kind of help?
Yeah.
And she responded, to stop the person who killed me.
What the fuck?
And he was like, what?
Oh my God, stop.
Now,
stop.
In this moment,
Holy fucking shit.
Jose was like, okay, this has been a tough week for Remy, my wife.
She's having a
She's
break.
gone through some shit. She saw who she thought was Teresita Basa in the break room. People have been shitty to her. She kind of got ganged up on. She was like fired from work. Maybe she's just really stressed and under a lot of anxiety. And this is like some kind of hallucination, or like she's having a bad dream. She's like maybe having a night terror right now. So he started walking towards the bathroom because he was going to get something like a cool cloth to like calm her.
Yeah.
And like, he sounds so sweet.
He does sound like a sweetie.
Yeah.
Drew would be like, I have to leave immediately.
Right? And Jose, Dr. Chua is like, I'm going to take care of you. Like, I'm going to get you something to calm you down.
I promise you, Drew would be running down the fucking street at this point.
And he said as he was walking towards the bathroom, she lifted her arm and gestured to the telephone and said, call the police. Please, doctor. Call the police and tell them who killed me. I cannot rest until they know. And Jose was kind of starting to panic at this point.
Because he's like, I can't call the police right now.
And he was like, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what you're saying. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. And then Remy suddenly abruptly came to and was very confused why she was in bed and what the fuck was wrong with her husband, why he was so alarmed.
This is real. This happened.
This happened. And he explained to her what happened. He was like, this is what just happened. And she was like, what? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my God. She must have been so scared and he must have been so scared.
And they're like, what? Like, they had nothing like this had happened to them before.
Usually it doesn't in your life.
It's not like these people are people that are like trying to do this all the time. Like, this was a very random thing.
What?
And the next day, Jose had driven his wife to Edgewater to get her belongings from work. And they came back, they were in the living room, and Remy was talking on the phone. And suddenly, she hands him the phone abruptly and says, Teresita wants to come back.
Nope. Oh my God, what?
And then she walked out of the room in the middle of a phone call. She literally stopped, handed him the phone, said Teresita wants to come back, and walked into the bedroom. And so Jose was like, I'm sorry, my wife has to call you back, and ended the phone call.
What?
And followed her into the bedroom, and she was laying just as she was the day before on
Isn't
the
it
bed.
interesting that like she kept going back to her bedroom to lay in the middle of her bed?
Yep.
What?
And again, she said, I am Teresita Basa.
I'd be like, I believe you.
And she said she was murdered by a man named Alan Showery.
Yeah, I already knew that.
And she said, and she spouted this to him. She said, he came to fix my television. He stabbed me, he choked me, and he stole some of my jewelry.
Oh.
And she said, and then she just urgently requested him, please go to the police. Please go to the police with this. And he was so confused. And he was like, I can't go to the police. I don't have any proof of this. Like, I can't call them and say that you are just telling me.
This ghost of this woman.
Yeah, he's like, I can't tell them that you're telling me this beyond the grave. Like, they will think he was like, they will think I'm losing it. Like,
Right.
I will get in trouble.
Right.
And the voice just kept pleading for him to help and insisting that they could provide proof. And then they provided proof.
Tell me right now.
They explained every piece of jewelry that he had stolen. And they said it was a ring that my mother had given me. It was like another piece of, and I'll explain those in a little bit, but that ring that her mother had given her a year before.
Oh my God. Also, sorry, didn't he work at the hospital with her?
Yeah.
So this fucker, like, do Remy and Dr.
And Alan?
And they know him?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. Now, as they provided this proof of this is what he took from me, Remy came to and was again completely confused what just happened. And this happened again the following day, the exact same thing over and over with the voice saying, I know, like, please call, please provide this proof, please tell them that this is what's happening. So Remy was like, when she came to and he told her again that this is, you keep doing this is the third day.
Yeah.
Remy was like, we got to do something.
It's just going to keep happening otherwise.
So Remy called a friend and told the friend the story. And this friend, who I guess was connected to the consulate, they placed a call to the Evanston police, and using their connections were like, this is what I've heard is happening.
Right.
They didn't give him the full rundown, I guess, but
They didn't give them the rundown from the grave.
the whole thing. So the tip about the Chuas was assigned to Detective Floyd McKinney at the Evanston police.
Okay.
And he drove to the Chuas' home to interview them.
This is absolutely wild.
Bonkers. So they were worried that the detective was not going to take the story of Teresita's spirit possessing Remy's body and telling them.
I feel like most people
Really
would feel
well.
that way.
Now, remember, if they were looking to get something out of this, or they were looking to, like, get attention, they would have just said it.
Yeah.
They would have been like, wow, she got possessed. Like, this would have been
Right.
like that thing. No.
They didn't
They
want
just
to.
told McKinney that Remy had received a threatening phone call from a former coworker, Alan Showery, and that she believed that he could have played part in Teresita's murder because of how aggressive he was, and that he had mentioned something that made her think.
Guys, this is wild.
So they were like, we have to get Alan's name out there because Teresita is telling us.
yeah,
But we can't tell that Teresita told us this.
because then they
So they
will
made up a
lock us
story.
up, right?
Which it's like, why would they have done that?
No,
They
no.
would have just said it if they were trying to get attention.
God, I'm like losing it right
So there's
now.
no actual evidence to support this at the moment. And McKinney, the detective, just kind of took the statement, left the house.
Like, I'll write it down, I guess.
Yeah, he was like, wow, that's wild. And back at the station, he reported it to his supervisor. Like, you know, they have this name. They got a threatening phone call. They think it could be connected. So his supervisor was like, and pass this on to Chicago, where the jurisdiction is. So, you know, they would have to be the ones to conduct this. So they did. So Detective McKinney in Evanston was the one who received the tip.
Okay.
And they hadn't had any leads in the case since the end of April. So he was like, awesome. Like, we'll just go with this. And he was not aware of all the specifics. Obviously, he got that story from it.
Yeah.
But he explained to the people in Chicago that he had received a tip from this couple in Evanston about a man named Alan Showery being involved possibly in the Basa murder. And it was Stahula, obviously, who heard this tip. And he got the tip and he placed a call to the Chuas the next day.
Okay.
So now this is Stahula in Chicago, who is now having to contact the Chuas.
Where did the Chuas live?
They lived in Evanston, which is just another jurisdiction. That's why they had to like.
I see.
And apparently, they had lived about a half hour outside of Chicago. So Stahula had to go, you know, to their address. He had to go sit down and talk to them. And he was like, "What do you guys know?"
Right.
Now, at first, they stayed with the story. They received a harassing phone call from a man that Remy believed was Alan Showery.
Yeah.
And she explained that Showery worked as what she thought was an orderly at Edgewater. She was like, I'm not really sure what he does. There's different reports that he was an orderly or he was a respiratory therapist.
Okay.
But she said he likes to pretend he's a doctor.
Yikes.
He even gets mail addressed to Dr. Showery.
That's something.
Something about the story seemed a little strange to Stahula. He just had like his feeling.
His radar was going
Spidey
off.
senses are tingling.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said the chewers were being a little cagey and they seemed a little reluctant to talk, which he thought was weird.
Right.
And he was like, this seems kind of just like a prank phone call. Like, I don't know about this. And he said every time that Showery's name was brought up, he could see Jose tense up and become uncomfortable.
Really?
So he was like, what's going on? And he kind of pressed on them a little bit and was like, what do you know? Like, what's happening here? And finally, Jose leaned towards him and said, tell me, Mr. Detective, do you believe in the occult or in exorcism? And so he was like, I'm open-minded.
Okay.
And so the
Thank
Chuas
goodness.
explained the events of the previous week, the real events. They told the detective Jose had asked the voice who killed Teresita, and she had said Alan Showery. And he said she kept repeating his name over and over and over. And Jose said, he killed me, he killed me, he killed me, over and over and over. Then he added credibility to the story because Jose explained that the voice had said that Showery had taken her jewelry. And so Shua said, okay. And he was like, so he didn't even give him the specifics of that yet. He was like, he took her jewelry, and he was like, all right, we don't know that yet because people said they didn't think anything was missing from the scene.
Right.
But then he was like, I'm going to test this. So he goes, did the voice indicate to you that her killer raped her? And Jose said, oh, no, she did not. She only said that she had been stabbed.
Oh, wow.
And Jose also then right after this went into the description of the jewelry and said that it was a pendant from the Philippines that was taken, a cocktail ring with a pearl inlay given to Teresita by her mother a couple of years earlier. And also that I guess that the voice insisted that this was going to be how they would know the truth. Like, I guess the voice was literally like, you tell the police this,
and
they
know.
are going to find these things in Showery's possession.
Yeah.
I promise you this. So he was
Holy
like,
shit.
this is pretty wild.
But like, how are we gonna get a search warrant?
That's the
off
thing.
Of the like this
this
whatever.
this. And he was like, okay, it's weird because in the press they had said this was possibly a rape, murder, robbery.
Right.
It was not in the press that she had not been sexually assaulted. So that was a strange one. And when he went back to the station, Stahula considered the whole thing. He didn't know what to make of it. And like I said, no one had reported that any jewelry was missing from Teresita's apartment. And he said they had interviewed most, but not all of the coworkers that she worked with. And no one ever really talked about a man named Alan Showery. And then he's flipping through the case file, and he comes across the memo pad next to that was next to the telephone.
Yup.
And it said on that memo pad, get tickets for AS.
Yup.
And he was like, Alan Showery.
The fact that she was gonna get him
free tickets.
and this is what he fucking did to her.
Yeah. Now, fortunately, it turned out that whoever received the call from the Evanston police earlier in the day, like to take that tip and pass it on to the detectives, they had already run Showery's name for them, which I was like, badass.
Yeah, like ahead of things.
So they had already pulled his full report, his full case file for Stahula. So he was like,
yeah,
you're an MVP.
you're the real one.
Alan Showery was 30 years old when he started working at the Edgewater Hospital.
Yeah.
He was born and raised in New York City. He'd studied sociology and psychology at New York University and Utah State.
Wow.
Before settling in Chicago around 1969. So, like I said, there's varying reports what his job at the hospital was, but he did work with Teresita alongside her.
Right.
They didn't seem like they would be likely friends because on paper, they are very different.
Yeah.
He had an arrest record that was like very long.
But she probably didn't know that.
That included arrests for burglary in 1967, stolen mail in 1966, theft in 1971, 2 arrests for rape in 1972.
What the fuck was he doing working at a hospital?
Yep. And both of those rapes were done on Chicago's North Side where Teresita lived.
What?
Now, they were both friendly with each other. They had very outgoing personalities, the two of them. They bonded together. They both loved music.
He was about to be in her band.
I guess they really got along. Like, the two of them were like friends.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Yeah.
They used to ride the bus together.
In the mid-1970s, he had been living with his German-born girlfriend, Janka Kalmach. They lived on the city's north side, which was opposite the Chicago Transit Authority.
Okay.
So investigators were like, he was not outwardly, obviously, a guy that would have rape or murder on his rap sheet. They said he was the sort of person that, like, you could easily come to like. He had a face that projected, I want to be your friend.
That's scary.
And it took some time to actually track him down. But once they got him at his apartment and knocked on the door, He seemed perfectly fine with going down to the station and talking to the detectives. And before they'd even arrived at the station, he asked if whatever they wanted to talk about had to do with Teresita Basa. They didn't respond. They just brought him into the interrogation room and immediately read him his rights. And the detectives explained that they'd been speaking with a lot of his coworkers at the hospital, and there were some things that were said that kind of led them to want to talk to Alan. That's what they let out.
Yeah.
They didn't say that Teresita told us you did it.
I hope he did find that out eventually.
So Showery claimed that he and Teresita were very good friends, but he said it was platonic. He explained they would talk during work. They would ride the bus home together. They ate lunch together. It was a very normal coworker friendship.
Wow.
Now, initially, he said that he hadn't seen Teresita outside of work for about 6 months. But the detectives decided to bluff a little, and they told them that they'd found his fingerprints at the apartment. They had not.
Yeah.
And he said there was no way that those were 6 months old. So he was like, okay. And then he revised his story.
Uh-oh.
And that's when he told the detectives that not only had he not seen her in 6 months outside of work, he had ridden the bus home with Teresita on the day that she was murdered.
Right. Like, that's going to look a little weird, dude.
Yeah. And he told them he'd promised to go to her apartment later that night to fix her television. But he said he'd forgotten and instead had gone home and he had fixed wiring in his own apartment.
Lies.
And he assured them that his girlfriend would verify this alibi.
I bet she would.
Now, they were like, huh, okay. And they were like, you have a girlfriend. I wonder if she has new jewelry. So they said,
Bitch. I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yep. And now that they have brought him in for questioning, they could now search his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So they went, and Yanka was there, so they could question her. And when they told her about the alibi, she was very confused and said, we don't have any problems with the wiring in here. He never did any work on it. She was just like, fuck that. No, he didn't. And so they were like, can we look in your jewelry box? And she was like, absolutely, you can.
Good for her.
And they didn't really know what they were like looking for quite yet, but they were just like, I don't know. At this point, they were like, maybe it's in here, maybe it's not. And they eventually were able to find someone, like one of her friends, who could actually look in the jewelry box too and point to see if anything was recognizable.
One of Teresita's friends.
Exactly. And so they found, who they found was Richard Pizzotti, who was one of the two men that went on the date with her. And he said he didn't see anything that he believed belonged to Teresita, and they had him come down where Yanka was and look into this thing. And he was like, yeah, I don't see anything that's hers. And then he was leaving the room and he looked over at Yanka and he said, that ring on her finger is Teresita's. And Yanka Yanka told detectives that Alan had given her the ring as a belated Christmas gift sometime around the end of February.
What the actual fuck?
So she said, here you go, take it. And it was later identified by Teresita's cousin to be the cocktail ring given to her by her mother.
Oh my God, that's disgusting.
Yep.
That he gave that to his girlfriend as a late Christmas gift.
Yep. And the cousin also was able to look in the box and identified a jade pendant that was Teresita's. And
Just
remember,
like she said.
Remy had said there's a there's a pendant,
She said a pendant, a ring, and
a cocktail ring that belongs to my mother.
Yeah.
That was my mother.
Right.
And he said, the cousin said there was also 2 other items in there that he believed belonged to Teresita as well.
This is so horrific.
Now, after he heard about the jewelry and about his girlfriend denying the alibi, Showery tried to spin a story about how he bought that jewelry from some guy on the street. But
yeah, buddy,
both detectives just kind of looked at him and were like,
really?
is that really the fucking story you want to go with? He immediately dropped it and he said, I murdered her. Just confessed.
Why?
Like, boom. According to Alan, he said he did go to Teresita's that evening to look at the television set to fix it for her, but he realized that he needed to get his tools in order to fix it, so he went back to his apartment a few hours later. Around 7:30 p.m., that's when he was going back to her apartment, and he said he just decided he was going to rob her.
What?
So he said the reason was, he said he had been helping Teresita obtain citizenship papers and had on several occasions driven her to the naturalization office.
Uh-huh.
And after he would do this, she would always give him a cash tip of $5 or $10 for helping her out.
So he decided to rob her?
So he assumed that she had money in her apartment.
This is why you shouldn't be kind to people.
No, you shouldn't. Because also she didn't. She had $30 in her
Right,
apartment.
she didn't. Like, she was just doing that out of the goodness
She just
of
did
her
that to
heart.
help you. And yeah, he broke. So he said at the time of the murder, he was very broke. He was behind on all his bills. He was very desperate.
Well, get another job, asshole.
And as soon as Teresita closed the door after letting him in, he grabbed her from behind and gave her a chokehold. She lost consciousness very quickly. And he said he laid her down on the floor and just started ransacking the place for money. All he found was $30 in cash and what he thought was expensive looking jewelry. So once he'd ransacked the place, he went back to the living room. He picked her up off the floor, carried her into the bedroom, and he said he didn't know what to do, so he decided to make it look like rape. So he took her clothing off, went to the kitchen and got that knife off the counter that she had used to cut up the lettuce and the tomato, and he stabbed her into her sternum.
Holy shit.
According to Alan, he described Teresita as being subconscious at the time, which I was like, nope.
Incorrect. You work at a fucking hospital.
And he said she didn't feel anything. Who the fuck are you to say that?
Yeah, like you don't even know the
She
difference
wasn't
between
dead.
unconscious and subconscious.
So he said he piled some clothes on top of her body, dragged the mattress over to her, and set fire to a paper bag that he put on top of the clothing. And once that was all on fire, he fled the apartment and went back to his.
What a piece of human garbage.
Yeah. Now, during this questioning, Stahula put in a bunch of control questions to see if he was telling the truth or if he was just repeating things he had heard in the media.
Yep.
Because he wanted to be sure this was
Yeah.
an accurate confession and not somebody going to claim that they were forced into it.
Smart guy.
So Alan accurately described the scene in the apartment, which wasn't released to the press. He described what Teresita was wearing. He said what he'd stolen. None of that was in the newspapers. And he also said that he wanted to, quote, make it look like a sex crime and that he had not sexually assaulted her. And none of that had been released to the media.
Wow.
So the confession was very genuine. And, you know, just to be sure, they had him go through it a second time. And they said he never wavered from that confession. And so they took him out of the room and they said as he went by Yanka, who was standing out there, he told her that he probably wouldn't be seeing her again for a long time.
I can't even imagine what she said to him.
Yeah. Now, everything had worked out, it seemed. And the detectives were really confident that they had enough to give the district attorney for prosecution. I mean, they had
Everything.
the stuff. The only issue is that they weren't sure how to explain how they'd even made their way to Alan Showery.
Right.
But there was no way around it. They had to tell the judge and the jury that the ghost of Teresita Basa spoke through Remy Chua and led them to their killer.
I mean,
And the thing is, they may not have been able to explain what happened, but they were right about every detail.
right.
So it's like, this is going to sound kind of kooky, but everything is
This
right.
is what happened and it led us here.
So the case was assigned to Thomas Organ of the Cook County District Attorney's Office, who would be representing the state.
Yeah.
And at first, Organ was skeptical of the voice from the grave story.
I think so.
And he had no idea how he was going to present this case to a jury. He said, in my 5 years as a prosecutor handling 70 or so felony cases, I've never run into anything like this.
Also, sorry, is his last name Organ?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right. But he dove into it and he researched it, investigated it, and he said, they're telling the truth.
Everything in this case just like lines up and like
It does.
like spiritually, physically.
And he said, he was like, I believe the Chuas. How can I not?
Yeah, because they didn't even
It
want
all
to tell
lines
this
up.
to begin with.
That's the thing.
like that, and I feel like that gives more credibility.
Yeah, they didn't run out to tell this to anyone.
Right, exactly.
So a pretrial hearing was held in the Circuit Court of Cook County on September 7th, 1978. And this is when Allen's defense attorney, William Swano, he tried to have the charges dismissed because of the unusual circumstances that preceded his arrest.
It's like, yeah, sure, but like, why does your client have everything and know everything about her?
Well, and he's claiming that Remy Chua had faked the episodes because she'd been fired, she was stressed out, she was trying to get attention.
Okay.
And prosecutor Thomas Organ argued that the detectives had pursued a viable lead and found probable cause to arrest Alan Showery. So the paranormal thing that
Need a boost? Sometimes all it takes is tapping into your inner cool. Icebreakers gum helps you unleash the confidence within. Each chew releases a rush of icy flavor powered by cooling flavor crystals, sending a wave of refreshment to reinvigorate all your senses. Icebreaker's convenient pack fits everywhere, from car cup holders to backpack pockets, so you can find your cool wherever you go. Grab Icebreaker's gum online or at a store near you.
Getting scared is one thing. Getting a thrill is, well, you want more of those in your life. The Genesis GV70 is built to thrill, baby. A thrilling yet elegant design always makes driving the GV70 an exciting adventure. Its powerful athletic stance screams performance and turns heads. Everybody's looking at you, girl, or boy, or whoever. Command the road and experience a class-leading standard 300 horsepower. Oh my God. Plus, discover the different dynamic drive modes for all different terrains. Choose between the different terrain modes for whatever road conditions you may encounter. The Genesis GV70's award-winning technology and performance lets you drive with comfort and drive with confidence all at the same time. It's an exciting SUV with intuitive tech that can make your ride smooth even when the road isn't. And its blind spot cameras allow you to see what's next to you. It's like having eyes on the side of your head. That's pretty iconic. Its performance, by the way, is measured not only in power, but in how it makes you feel confident, sexy. The Genesis GV70. Learn more at genesis.com and feel the GV70.
Preceded it was unusual, but ultimately irrelevant because it led to the truth. And the judge agreed.
Wow.
And
Thank goodness.
Alan Showery was ordered to stand trial for the first-degree murder of Teresita Basa.
Because he planned it on the way over.
Yeah, because he had planned the whole thing.
Damn.
Alan Showery went on trial January 8th, 1979, and the media went nuts about this. Thomas Organ knew he was fighting a very uphill battle with this. You know, a lot of his case was resting on a tip from a ghost. So,
Yeah, that'll be
that's
difficult.
tough. But he fought through. He was undeterred. In the months since the case had come to him, he had interviewed the Chuas again and again. And he said it was, I was trying to I knew they were going to be on the stand. And he said, also, I was looking for holes in the story.
Right.
And he found nothing. And he said, in front of the jury, Organ tried to minimize the supernatural claims and just kind of focus on the facts of the case, which was a case of murder and robbery and not ghosts and possession. So he was like, the reality of the case is that there is evidence in his possession to say he murdered her.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want the jury to forget that there's facts here. Regardless of how we got here, we got here. So for the most part, his argument remained much as it had during the pre-trial hearing, with Alan Showery had been confronted with undeniable proof of his involvement and with the jewelry.
Yep.
And on that, he had given an oral and written confession to murdering her. So that is the facts.
Yo.
And the defense argued that Showery had been arrested on nothing more than the Chua's unbelievable story of possession, and that Alan had only confessed to spare his girlfriend from being arrested along with him and giving birth to their children in jail, because apparently she was pregnant.
Oh my God. That's horrific.
Now, Remy Chua was in the process of being fired from her job. She had personal problems. They didn't release what those personal problems were.
Because they probably didn't exist.
But they told the jury that she had just made up this possession thing, this whole act to get attention. And sure, anybody hearing that would be like, under normal circumstances, sure.
Yeah.
Tell me that she's stressed out. She lost her job. There was all this weird shit going on. Maybe she wants attention. Sure. Why not? Except that from the start, the Chuas didn't want to report the whole thing even. They were reluctant reporters and reluctant witnesses. They didn't want to talk about any of it. They were stressed out talking about it. They were very reluctant.
And also, like, cool, she got fired from her job. She has all these personal problems. She made this up. Then
It's
why
real.
was the jewelry
Yeah.
in the girlfriend's possession?
Why did it pan out?
And why did he know the apartment scene if he hadn't been there? And how did he know that she hadn't been raped if he wasn't the one to not rape her?
Exactly. And at no time had the Chuas tried to make money off of or capitalize on this story. No time.
Right.
Never.
So, like, they had nothing to gain here.
In fact, everyone who knew them, and anytime anyone talked to them, they were like, we really just want to go away. Like, we don't want to be part of this story anymore. We don't want to be in the spotlight. we just want to leave this for you to fix, and that's it.
Because realistically, I just said they have nothing to gain. Really, they have everything to lose.
Yeah.
They at least, I mean, he's a
He's
fucking
a doctor.
Like,
yeah. Like,
people will doubt him if he like made this up and, you know.
yeah, and she's a respiratory therapist. Like, they have like, you know, they have good jobs. They have reputations. Like, this wouldn't be a good thing.
They're not trying to be like, you know.
They're not running around to all the media outlets being like, let me tell you my story of possession. They're like, please don't talk to me.
Right, exactly.
And so in their closing arguments, both sides tried to hammer home those arguments that they've been making the whole time. The defense kind of focused on the paranormal part, being like, this is crazy, trying to put in the jury's mind, this is wild. Also propping up Showery's claim that he had been coerced into confessing because the detectives had threatened to arrest his girlfriend as an accessory.
Okay.
Now, Thomas Organ dismissed any claims of coercion, saying to the jury that his story might be believable if it came from a 16-year-old boy who might be easily intimidated.
Yeah, exactly.
But they said, Alan Showery is an adult, educated man with an extensive criminal history.
That's the other thing. He's literally done
he's
shit like
criminal.
this before.
And as for the supernatural part about the Chuas, he told them it doesn't matter as to guilt or innocence. What does matter is that the information furnished to police checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And after 13 hours of deliberation, the jury sent a note to the judge on the afternoon of Friday, January 26th, saying that they were hopelessly deadlocked.
I would think. Because can you imagine that
could not-
13 hours
yeah.
and they're
They
of
could
them
not
going
reach a
back and
verdict.
forth?
And the judge dismissed the jury, and a new trial was set for February 14th.
Oh, they needed Ronald.
So February 14th came and went, and the judge had to order a continuance, which got the defense really feeling good because they started getting confident that they could get an acquittal the second time around. But on the evening of February 21st, only a few days later, Alan Showery called his lawyer and asked him to arrange a meeting with the judge and the district attorney. The next day, Showery and lawyers from both sides stood in front of the judge, and Alan Showery, against the advice of his attorney, pleaded guilty to the murder of Teresita Basa.
Do you think Teresita was like appearing to him at this point?
I wonder if she was like, you fucker, I'm going to haunt your ass.
Right?
And he was like, I'm just going to admit this.
Yeah.
The district attorney's office confirmed that they had no plea deal. They had not offered a deal for this.
Wow. I feel
None.
like he had to have been being haunted. And honestly, I hope that even after he pled guilty, he continued to be haunted.
That's what I think. And Showery would not give an explanation for why he decided to do this.
Yeah,
That's
girl,
what makes me
'cause
think.
we already know.
Yep. And his lawyer asked the judge for leniency.
Fuck
That's all they
that.
could do. And the judge considered everything and the request for leniency and sentenced Alan Showery to concurrent terms of 4 to 12 years on armed robbery and arson charges.
What about the murder?
He was never convicted of the murder, from what I can tell. He was
What?
convicted of robbery and arson. And that's why he got that sentence.
What?
So I wonder if there was some kind of plea deal that
There
happened
has to
behind the
have been.
scenes. Because it's very confusing.
That doesn't make any fucking sense that they were just like, yeah, I guess we'll just throw the murder off the table
Yeah.
for no fucking
Just
reason.
no big deal. But he admitted to it, which is so wild to me.
I wonder if he had information on like another
I
case.
wonder
or,
something something is out there that we don't know about.
That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. And also that pisses me the fuck off.
Because he served the minimum 4 years of his sentence and was paroled in 1983.
What the actual fuck? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yep.
Oh my god, Teresita, baby, if you didn't haunt
Yeah.
him.
And that is the story
4
of
years.
Teresita Basa.
4 years he served.
4 years he served for that.
What?
I know.
Teresita's the baddest bitch alive and the baddest bitch in
Good for
the
her.
afterlife also.
And good for the Chuas
yeah,
for listening to her and for like
being brave, really.
brave enough to tell a detective when they didn't want to that this is what had happened.
That
And good for Yanka for just being like, sure, come on in,
Bye.
and like, no, I'm not telling you his alibi is correct. Like, no,
Right.
he did not work on wiring that
That's
night.
a
Like,
real
good for
one.
Yanka. But like, damn.
But what do we not know? Because that doesn't
There's
make any
something.
sense. That, like, in my opinion, it really sucks because justice wasn't served.
No, it really wasn't.
At
4
all.
years is not a sentence for that.
And she, like, nobody ever went to prison for her murder.
Yeah.
I'm so angry right now.
I was too. I was very angry.
Fuck.
There's something that happened in that trial that is not public,
That we
don't
scored.
know about, that definitely is hidden somewhere in the annals of that record.
I just had like a gut feeling that he had information on another
There
like,
had to have been
pressing case.
something.
Something like that.
Because that's nothing.
Like, because he had to have helped them in some big way.
Yeah, and Dave said the same thing. He was like, there had to have been some kind of deal that happened that we don't know about.
Off the books.
Yeah.
That is infuriating.
Yeah.
What
he
the
only got the
fuck?
arson and robbery charge.
Honestly, I not only hope that he gets haunted for the rest of his life, I hope everybody in that deal,
Right?
involved in that deal, also got haunted.
Haunt them, Teresita.
Teresita, you know what? But no, you know what? If that's what you want to do, go ahead. But like, live your afterlife.
Yeah, because you know what? She said, I can't move on until
Yeah.
they know that he did it.
They
so hopefully
know-
she just got him to admit it.
Yeah.
And then was like, now I can move on. See you
Exactly.
later.
I hope she is like playing piano shows in the
Oh.
afterlife, strumming on her organ.
Hell yeah.
I hope that like men treated her better in the
Yeah,
afterlife.
I hope she's hanging out with her parents. I hope she's just like having
hope
fun.
the best.
I hope she's going to London sometimes
Yes.
to hang out and have some fun.
I hope she like quickly dropped by Edward's house just to be like,
Just to scare the shit out
Yeah,
of him. I hope
exactly.
so too.
I would do that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Wow, Teresita, what a wild story.
Yeah.
What an infuriating story.
Truly.
Because the fact that she invited him into her home and was
Thought
invited
he
him
was a
into her
friend.
band, like thought he was a friend, and that's what he did
That's
to her.
how much of a friend she considered him. She was going to have him be in the band. She
was gonna get him
trusted him
comped
coming into her
tickets.
house to fix this TV. She was going to comp him tickets. Like,
She tipped him every time he drove her
Yeah.
somewhere, and she didn't actually really have that much money.
and telling like her friends in the band that like, oh, I have this friend, Alan is going to be in the band.
Yeah, like
I
giving
want you
him a
guys
word
to
of
like hear him.
recommendation.
Yeah,
Wow. I'm
Really
so angry right now.
me too.
Great
Me too.
story though.
Wild
Great story.
Wild story.
And with that being said, we hope you keep listening.
And we hope you
Keep
it
weird,
weird.
but not as weird as the beginning of the show because we were like wild and
Yeah, keep it as weird
But
as Teresita.
keep
though.
it as weird as Teresita for sure, and maybe do keep it so weird that you're just like wilding out in a fun, goofy, silly way.
Be silly, goofy.
Like pour one out for Teresita.
Yeah, she's a badass.
In the U.S., there's a break-in every 26 seconds. But when intruders step near, Simply Safe Home Security steps up.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Using AI alerts, U.S.-based live agents help deter break-ins. Simply Safe, no long-term contracts. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
You wouldn't take financial advice from a 72 hours in a single day alpha influencer, would you? Same goes if you're in a car accident or any accident. Who you choose matters. That's why Morgan & Morgan exists. They're the largest injury law firm in America, and they've built a reputation by actually winning cases, not just talking about it. Over 1,000 lawyers across all 50 states and $30 billion recovered. Injured? Go to forthepeople.com/podcast. That's forthepeople.com/podcast.